So we started discussing about macro mechanics yesterday. Macro mechanics, in which we wanted to discuss about the stress strain relationships. Okay, so but before going into the composite materials, we spoke about the isotropic materials. Okay, so we have this strain stress relationship where this is epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy is equal to, what was this matrix? 1 by E minus nu by E, 0 minus nu by E, 1 by E, this is 0. By which method did we arrive at this matrix? What is that method called? What was the method by which we arrived at this matrix? We derived this yesterday. What is the method? What is the principle?
Principle of superposition.
Yeah, principle of superposition. So by that principle, we have arrived at this. Now, can anybody tell me how many independent constants are there in this? How many independent constants? This matrix we have written for an isotropic material. So how many independent constants do you see? How many independent constants? This one, how many independent constants are there in this matrix?
4.
4. What are those? What are those? Yes. Can somebody answer that?
Three.
What are those? Not able to hear that. Sorry.
So 1 by E minus mu by E and 1 by G.
Okay. So basically it is, yeah, but E, nu and G, can we say that?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
But is there any relation there?
G and E are dependent.
Sorry?
E and G are related.
Oh, what is the relation?
E is equal to root of G.
E is equal to?
Root of G.
No. You have studied this in the mechanics of materials.
G equals E by 2 into 1 plus V, sir. G equals E by 2 into 1 plus V.
Have you seen this relation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so we used this before.
Okay. So how many independent constants are there in this matrix? Means what is the answer?
1.
You need 2 to find the other, no? Yeah. You need 2 things. Either you should know E and G, or E and U, or G and U. Okay. You need to know 2 things to know the other one. So for an isotropic material, there are 2 independent constants. Okay. 2 independent constants. Okay. So this is something you should know. Now let's do the same thing for a UD lamina. So suppose we took an isotropic material previously. Now I take the UD lamina. Okay. So I have the fibers here in this direction. I have the fibers in this direction. And then a load is applied here. So this is a sigma x is a stress. So what will be the epsilon x equal to? It will be sigma x by
E.
Ex. Okay. What will be epsilon y equal to? Why Ex?
Minus V.
Why am I mentioning Ex there?
Long X.
Yeah, the longitudinal one. Okay. Because it's going to be different. Correct? Since it's going to be different, I am mentioning it. Okay. What is epsilon y equal to?
Minus mu sigma y by Ey. Sigma x by x.
Yeah. So it is minus nu xy sigma x by Ex. Okay. And then if I have this case, I apply the load this in this direction, I have the fibers here, then what will be the strain? Epsilon y will be equal to sigma y by Ey, and then epsilon x would be equal to minus nu yx sigma y by Ey. Okay. And then for the third case, what is the third case? This is sigma y. Okay. What is the third case? You have the fibers in this direction. Okay. You have only the shear. Okay. You have only the shear acting. Okay. So this will be tau xy. Okay. So gamma xy is equal to tau xy by gxy. Okay. See the difference in the way I'm writing for an isotropic material and for a UD composite lamina. Okay. I'm mentioning each time whether it is Ex or Ey. Okay. This has to be mentioned. If you simply put E, it will not make sense. Okay. You need to mention whether it is Ex or Ey specifically. You need to do this. Also, you cannot mention just nu. Okay, Poisson's ratio. there are two Poisson's ratio for this UD lamina. One is called as a major Poisson's ratio and another one is called as a minor Poisson's ratio. Have you come across this when we discuss this micromechanics?
Yes.
Come across this major Poisson's ratio and minor Poisson's ratio? Okay. Okay. So this is what? What is this one? This is a major Poisson's ratio. Okay, you have a major Poisson's ratio and a minor Poisson's ratio. And then, so how many independent constants are there in this now? If we write the matrix, first we'll write the matrix. Okay. First we'll write the matrix. How does the matrix look like? So it will be epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy. Okay, and this will be 1 by ex minus nu yx by ey. This will be 0. This will be minus nu xy by ex 1 by ey. This is 0. This will be 0, 0, 1 divided by gxy. This is the matrix multiplied by sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy. Okay, this is the strain stress relationship for the UD lamina. So how many independent constants are there in this? How many independent constants? Like in an isotropic material, we discussed it as 2. Can you tell me how many are there in this? Someone? Not very audible. What was the answer you gave?
3.
3.
Ex, Ey, and
Ex, Ey, and?
G of xy.
Okay. What about these things? Nu yx, nu xy.
They are also.
Yes, sir.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. 5 independent constants are there. Okay. But there is one relation which can be obtained. I'm not going to derive this. We'll see the derivation later. It is this and this term are equal. Okay. This term here and this term here are equal. We'll derive this later, but note this. Okay. Nu yx by ey is equal to nu xy by ex. Okay. So if you know the three things, you can find the other one. Okay. So this becomes not 5, so it is 4 independent constants. Okay, so there are 4 independent constants. This is ex, ey, gxy, and then either nu yx or nu xy must be known. Okay, so you should know either the major Poisson's ratio or the minor Poisson's ratio. If you know one of these and if you know ex and ey, you can find the other one. Okay, but this derivation we'll see later, but you note down this thing. Okay, you note down this thing, but we'll do the derivation later. But this is how these are related, and these two will be equal. Okay, you need to equate these two. Since negative is on both sides, it gets cancelled. So nu yx by ey is equal to nu xy by ex. So you get this. That's why there are 4 independent constants and not 5. Okay. So for this UD lamina, you have 4 independent constants. This is something which you need to know. So from an isotropic material where only 2 were required, now it is 4 independent constants need to be known. So that's the difference there. Okay. Now, always it's not going to be like, see, this is x, this is y. Okay, the fibers, when we derive the relation, we said the fibers are oriented along this direction, correct? The fibers are oriented along this direction. Now it's not always the same, right? It's not always oriented in this particular direction. Why do we need to orient it? It may be in this direction as well. Okay, it may be in this direction as well. X, y, and then you have the fibers oriented in a particular direction. Okay, oriented in a particular direction. So if you take the axis there, this will be x, this will be 1. Okay, I'll tell you what is 1. This will be y, this will be y, and this will be perpendicular to this x, and this will be equal to 2. Okay, and this is theta. This is theta. Okay, can somebody tell me what is 1 and 2?
Result.
Force component.
No, what is 1 and 2? Force component, no?
Applied load on the
Yes.
direction.
Here,
No, we have not applied load anywhere. Yes. What is 1 and 2? You see here. What are these? What is this? What are these lines?
Fibers.
Fibers. Okay. So what will be 1?
along the direction of the.
Along the
Parallel and
direction
2
of the
is
fiber. Okay.
perpendicular.
Yeah. Along the direction of fiber is 1. Perpendicular to the fiber is 2.
Matrix. Okay.
Okay. There's no matrix. Matrix is there, but we are not going to, no, it's considered as homogeneous now. Okay. We are discussing macro mechanics. So 1 is the direction of fiber. 2 is the direction perpendicular to the fiber. Okay. What is x and y? X and y is called as global axis. X and y is called as global axis. 1 and 2 is called as material axis. Material axis. So why 1 and 2 is called as material axis? Because 1 and 2 represents the fiber direction. Okay, it is related with the material. Okay, it is related with the material. So 1 is the direction of the fiber, 2 is the direction perpendicular to the fiber. Now, do we need to have a relation between x, y, and 1 and 2? Do you think it will be useful?
Yes, sir.
For what purposes do you think it will be useful?
To obtain a relation between the material axis and global axis.
Yeah. Suppose if you apply a stress, okay? You apply a stress and you want to know what is sigma x. sigma y and find out sigma 1 and sigma 2. Okay, or you want to know, you already know sigma 1 and sigma 2, you want to find sigma x and sigma y. Okay, in that case it will help. Even in the case of strings it will help. Okay, you need to have a relation between global axis and material axis, because why do we want to worry about global axis?
Because you are applying load in that direction.
Okay, but not necessarily, but usually we do that. Okay, usually we do that because global axis is important, because that is what we know. We know x-axis, we know y-axis. Okay, so it is always easier to refer something to relate that angle to x and y. Okay, so it's always easier for us. That's how we have been used to. Okay, since we are used to the global axis, we tend to always relate the material axis to the global axis. Okay, so this relation becomes important. Now in this thing, okay, suppose why did we write everything as x and y here? Suppose if I can I replace all this x as 1 and all this y as 2?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Because
sir.
global axis and material axis is same in this case.
Yeah, global axis and material axis is same, so we were able to do that. But once there is an angle theta between the global axis and the material axis, you cannot do that. Okay, so what do you do if you have to relate global axis and material axis? In mechanics of materials, what were you doing? What is the term called? It's not material axis there, but
Major axis.
you refer it to the load applied at that particular angle. Okay, so what do you call that as? Transformation, stress transformation. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of stress transformation?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Fine, no problem. Are you able to understand any doubts so far? Okay. Fine. You understood what is global axis and what is material axis. Now I'll relate the global axis and the material axis. Okay. So it is sigma 1, sigma 2, tau 1, 2. What have I written? Have I written the global axis or the material axis? Have I written global axis? Huh?
Material axis, sir.
Material axis. Okay. I call this as, I have a relation here. Okay. I'll write it completely. C square, S square, 2SC. I'll tell you what it is. Don't worry. S square, C square, minus 2SC, minus SC, plus SC, C square minus S square. Don't worry about those things. This is sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy. Okay. So knowing the, what is this? Global stresses. Knowing the global stresses, you can get local stresses. Okay. Local stresses or material stresses. Okay. Material axis and local axis is same. Okay. Material axis or local axis. This is global. This is local. Okay. So knowing global axis, stresses, global stresses, you can find local stresses. Okay, and this matrix is called as transformation matrix. This matrix is called as transformation matrix. This is how you relate this and this. Now, what is C and S? C is equal to cos theta, S is equal to sin theta. Okay, once you know theta, what is theta?
The angle between
Angle between x and 1.
Hmm.
Okay, angle between x and 1 is theta. Okay, so once you know theta, you can find C and S. You can get this matrix. Okay, you don't worry about these formulas. Okay, in a test or exam, the formula sheet will be provided where you will have all these things. You need not remember anything. Okay, in case it's a regular exam also, you need not worry. All these would be provided in the exam. The formula sheet will be provided. Need not by heart all these things. Okay, so this is called as transformation matrix. So this is the local stresses you're finding out, knowing the global stresses. Okay, I have one question here. In this matrix, this relates strain and stress. Okay, so what will be the units of this matrix? What is the units of this matrix?
No units, sir.
No units. Huh?
You're asking
What
SI
is
net or
the-
something.
Huh?
Yeah, are you asking SI net or something, sir?
Yeah, we always refer to SI units only. Can you tell me what will be the units?
Newton per mm square, sir.
Oh, correct.
Newton per mm square. Okay, but that is for what? E or 1 by E?
E, sir. So
So
mm
this is
square.
one. This is 1 by E, no? Here.
So mm square by Newton.
Okay. So can I say Pascal inverse?
Yes, sir.
Newton per meter square is Pascal. Okay. So this is Pascal inverse.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it may be, if this is in GPA, it will be GPA inverse. Okay. So this units of this is Pascal inverse. It may be MPA inverse or GPA inverse. It depends upon the values of this G and E. Okay. Anyways, Poisson's ratio doesn't have any units. Only the E has units. EX has units. EY has units. GXY has units. Okay. So this is Pascal inverse. Correct. Now, I told you that E stiffness depends on what? Stiffness depends on?
Elastic modulus.
Elastic model.
Yeah, elastic modulus E. Okay. Now this is 1 by E. So what is this? What should be this matrix called? What is the opposite of stiffness?
Flexible.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Okay. Now I use another word called as compliance. What do you mean by compliance? This matrix is called as compliance matrix. Can anybody tell me why it is called compliance matrix? What do you mean by comply in normal English?
Follow a rule.
Yeah, to follow. Okay. So why is this called compliance matrices? It is not it is inverse of stiffness. Okay, it is inverse of stiffness. That means it complies. Okay, flexible. He complies to the rules. Okay, he is flexible.
Elastic deformation, sir.
Yeah, so he complies to the rules. Okay, he is not very stiff. Okay, so 1 by E is inverse of the stiffness. Okay, so this matrix is inverse of stiffness, so that is why this matrix is called as compliance matrix. Okay, this matrix is called as compliance matrix. Suppose if I write stress strain relations, then what will be that matrix called? If I bring this sigma x, sigma y, tau xy on the left side and put this epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy on the right side, then what will be the matrix called? What will be that matrix called? You're doing the inverse of this, right? What is inverse of compliance would be stiffness.
Stiffness.
Okay, it will be called as stiffness matrix. If you bring in sigma x, sigma y, tau xy on the left side and take these strains on the right side and write a matrix here, then that matrix will be called as stiffness matrix. Okay, so what will be the units of that?
Pascal.
Pascals. Okay, so this is Pascal inverse and that stiffness matrix would be Pascals. Okay, fine. So first thing we started with the isotropic, then we wrote for the UD lamina the same thing, and we said EX, EY, new YX, new XY, mentioning all those is very, very important because the properties are different. So then we arrived at 4 independent constants, and then we said there can be a global axis and material axis when the fiber are oriented at a different angle and not with the angle of 0, that is not parallelly with the x direction. Okay, and then this is called as the transformation matrix, where you relate the this is the local stresses or the material axis stresses. Okay, and this is the global stresses. So when you know the global stresses, you can find this. Now, how do you find the reverse of this? If you want to find sigma x, sigma y, tau xy, then you take inverse of this matrix, multiply with sigma 1, sigma 2 and tau 1. Okay, so you take the inverse transformation. Okay, this is called as transformation matrix. If you take the inverse of this matrix, then you get the inverse transformation. Okay, so all these things are important, relating the local stresses and global stresses, global stresses and local stresses. So because you will be knowing one of these things and you have to find the other one. So for these things, this will help. So what you